Hello, hello. We are deorganized. This is our special episode 4, and we're super excited to have Zero Authority Dao and Electra Frost on the show. I don't know. I'm not sure why that's playing still. Um, Thank you all for coming out today. We have a great show. Hello, hello. I'm going to say hi to everybody. Electra, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Electra Frost in Agnes Water, Queensland, Australia, the northernmost beach on the Australian east coast. It's where the surf ends and the reef starts. And I operate remotely, sort of off grid, and doing accounting work for people all over the place. And we run a centre called Digital Playhouse Foundation, which runs Stacks Australia, the School of Bitcoin and Accountants on Chain, and it all keeps me pretty busy and excited about the future of peer-to-peer internet business and where accounting fits into it.
Awesome.
And I got back
Awesome.
from Nashville last week.
You were in Nashville last week. How was that?
Oh, mind-blowing. I was there for a few weeks. Yeah.
What was the best part about it?
It's really hard to say. I just thought the people in Nashville were the sweetest people in the world. And that was just so nice to be there. And I hung out with a lot of like-minded accountants. It's a bit lonely down under, there aren't very many accountants who understand Bitcoin and Web3. And I've been doing my best over the last 3 or 4 years to influence a change and slugging away at it. And a lot of people are interested, but it was great to see people who I've been chatting to online for ages getting together in Nashville and going to the events together. Bitcoin Builders Conference especially was the draw card, and also, of course, the main conference. But I really enjoyed mostly the main conference, going around and talking to the exhibition stall holders. Yeah, and seeing some of you that I managed to run into. It was crazy, wasn't it, trying to see everyone in a few days?
Yeah, I hear everyone had great stories from this year from Nashville, and it seems like it was a really crazy time. Also with us today is the Zero Authority Dao guys, XY0 and Hodlstx. I've known you guys for a little while now, and you guys are actually one of the reasons why I'm in the Stacks ecosystem, to be honest. When I was first looking around and finding stuff, trying to figure out how things work, I came across Zero Authority DAO, and the concept is brilliant. It's not kind of like no one else is really building anything quite like it. And then I just poking around and trying to see how it was working, and you guys helped me out. You guys were interested in like me, just some kind of just a curious guy trying to figure things out, and you were very receptive to my questions, which are not technically backed or based. So I have a lot of questions that are probably sometimes lowbrow for you guys. Not that you guys are like that. You were so receptive to me. So anyway, introduce yourselves, gentlemen. Zero, start with you, please.
We got to start with the brain trust. Go ahead, Hodl.
All right. Oh, you want me to do the brain trust? All right, I'll be half the brain trust. I'll take that. But you can call me James. So I've been in the Stacks world since like mainnet 2021, and I can remember back in the days where the only thing you could really do was just stack your stacks, and it was pretty quiet. I would just hang out with Bitcoiners and stuff. But I'm based in Virginia. I'm an engineer by trade, and just always learning new stuff with stacks, and I love it. And we're co-founder of Zero Authority DAO. Me and Zero have just been building for quite some years now. We initially started doing it to kind of share other builder stories and get to know people in the space. Stacks had this problem. It's less so now, but there were like kind of no voices of people would build all kinds of cool shit, and then no one would talk about it. No one would go out there. That they were just heads down building. No one would explain it that much just to the average user. And so me and Zero felt like that was kind of our world where we fit in the best at the beginning. But yeah, we've we kind of really have just come a long way of we want to put truth on chain is what the easiest way for me to describe what Zero Authority DAO is all about. Verifiable truth, human to
I
human.
love that, man. That's really kind of like, it's all we really have, right? Is what's true, or what's true to the extent that we can possibly tell, right? From our subjective limitations is the reality that we're experiencing, and what the best way for us to actually have a handle on what is real is by being honest and dealing with an honest transactional capacity. So it's a huge need. It's a fundamental basis for the rest of the ethos of the Bitcoin ethos and the rest of the ecosystem, where it's for everybody. You said you're in Virginia, you do engineering. I'm assuming it's software engineering, or what kind of engineering are you into, James?
So by school, I did mechanical engineering, and so I did that for a few years. But I've self-taught software now is what I do. Yeah.
And you just apply the engineering, the basic fundamentals of engineering that you learned in mechanical engineering to software engineering, the principles.
Yeah. I mean, I love math, logic, all that fun stuff. So, that's
this guy is brilliant. I mean, fucking brilliant with math. Like, sometimes where we have to design the token, and I'll come back to it, and I'm like, so if we take 1 billion tokens and then it's 20%, how much is that? 1 second, let me get the calculator. And he's like, oh, don't worry, Zero. That's about, I don't know, roughly give or take. And then he says the pinpoint answer. And I'm like, dude, you already knew that was the answer, right? You're not just like guesstimating. He's like, yeah, I knew. And I was like, I knew you knew the answer to it. Me and Hodlstx, James, we go back since mainnet. I go back before that, right? I was I knew about Bitcoin when I heard about this whole Laszlo and pizza stuff, right? And I heard about that and right after I graduate college. And so that was around 2011, 2012. I heard about it, but I was like, this thing is a joke. Like, this guy bought some pizza with some fake digital internet money. And then fast forward to the 2016 election, and it was on CNBC, and they were like, the price of Bitcoin on pizza day is blah, 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 right? And I was like, oh, holy smokes. That thing I heard about, that thing is actually really valuable. Now, at the time, I still thought, this is some fake internet currency money. Like, you might as well just have like World of Warcraft points at that point, right? And I was like, I don't know. And then, the bull run 17 kicked off. I had bought a little bit before, and I bought a ton. At the time, I lost 50% of my entire portfolio, which is tiny at the time when I look back. And I was like, I was in a world of hurt because my wife was like, you lost all our money. And I was like, no, this thing Ethereum is going to change the world. And then I was like, I was a Bitcoiner. I'm still a Bitcoiner. We're all Bitcoiners, right? And then obviously Ethereum came along and it totally changed the paradigm. I still remember when CryptoKitties clogged up the network. And I was like, man, what is this CryptoKitties thing? And what are these NFTs? And those was kind of like the introduction. And then the mainnet happened because at Blockstack, I learned about the Blockstack days. They used to have these summits, kind of like what they do with the Bitcoin builders now. At the time, Balaji had come, and I still tune in because his talk on the pseudonymous economy, it radically changed my mind, where he said, online, we're going to be this person. In real life, we're going to be that person. And at some point, we'll have all these digital identities who are representative of us over time. And I thought, that is true, because in the real world, I have a LinkedIn. And in the digital space, I have Twitter or Telegram. And there's no place where I could go to represent all of that digital interaction or that digital truth, right? And so in 21, I had created the Bitcoin Pizza NFTs. And James, he was running this NFT site, one of the very first ones for Stacks. And I was like, hey, dude, can you get my Bitcoin Pizzas launch on your site? And he's like, you're not going to believe who it is. And I'm like, dude, who are you? And so he finally told me. I was like, oh, Hodlstx, I didn't know you run this site too. So I was like, hey, man, I got this crazy idea. You should stop what you're doing and you should partner with me for this even more radical idea that's probably not even going to work. And because at that time, you probably started to get all the NFTs that were they weren't meme coin NFTs kind of deal, but it was a lot of stuff that wasn't working over time. But yeah, we partnered up, and we're still early because no one talks about reputation on chain. We get mentions here and there, and then if we talk to investors, they're like, who do you compete with? And I'm like, well, there's LinkedIn and for working professionals, and then in Web3 you do kind of have, I own a wallet, I do interface with this DeFi protocol, or I hold NFTs, but there really isn't a place where I can say, this is who I am, this is my digital reputation, these are the badges that I've earned from all of these interactions. The number one reason we created this is if you want to be completely anonymous, or you want to be pseudonymous, and you want to kind of earn reputation and have some value of this person who you are, like there's literally, you'd have to like almost get references. Like, okay, who did you work with? Can you give me a reference if you want to go build this thing for me? But now that we have Zero Authority, we have this profile where you can start to show these badges. You don't need, I call it trustless, permissionless for a reason. You don't need to trust that this person's going to deliver, because you can lock up the crypto in the contract, do some work, they deliver, you unlock the crypto, right? There's been this whole trust factor. So what we've been building over time with gigs and now bounties and then teams and then other products, we now are starting to realize this world of reputation on chain is starting to come together. And we have a couple announcements today, but one of them we're going to announce here too is Hattie has officially joined us, and I've been trying to convince him for the last couple months that you should join the team and be our community manager and work with us. And so he does work across stacks. He's
Sure.
with you, Love.
Yeah.
He's the D grants. He's with us. He does so much work and provides so much value. So super stoked to finally have him join us, and super stoked to be on this today. Thank you for making this space available. Peace, love. And then when you originally came to us, man, I thought this guy is going to add a ton of value. I mean, you see so many people say, oh, I want to get involved, and then they kind of just sit on their hands. Dude, you came in, you're like, I want to get involved. Tell me more about stacks. Tell me about clarity. Tell me about how I could use my stacks. Tell me how I could use my wallets. And I was like, man, I know this guy is going to start adding a ton of value. And here we are. We're on your show today, and that is so cool to come full circle, brother.
Yeah, I thank you, man. And awesome news, Hattie. People that are watching may not realize that the other version of me on the show is actually not me. It's Hattie. Hattie is co-hosting with us today. He's the dark peace, love music. He's my yang today. I'm the yin.
Yeah.
I'm the yin in the equation, I guess. That's all right. No, but man, that's awesome. Hattie's so great. I've been working with him for several weeks now, and he's super reliable. He's a tremendous resource, and you guys are awesome too. So I love that. It's great for all of you. And that's what I'm finding a lot of in the space is win-win-win situations. Totally. I am very curious, and I want to know how things work, and I have a lot of questions. And so, and I'm not very technical. I have the capacity to understand it. I'm intelligent, right? But I'm not super informed, which I think actually leads to me asking good questions that the average person in the space that would be a user, not a consumer, wants to know. And I think that's helping make some good content and helping provide some educational opportunities for other people that would be interested in what can I do with my stacks and what is going on in the space and how to get involved. But on-chain reputation and the gig marketplace, the bounties program you guys are doing, some really cool stuff with that. I've been doing a ton of spaces and a ton of podcasts. I actually didn't realize how much demand there was for people that want to be covered. And one of the people I've been following around a little bit lately is Freddie, that's been building the Stacks Africa project.
Freddie is awesome.
Yeah, and I guess our friend Jack, who is really the reason why I found you guys, because of all the promotion he does for everyone in the space. He told me that he also told me Freddie's he's known Freddie for a long time, and Freddie's an OG in the space. But what he's building in Stacks Africa is really interesting. I think it's really great work, and some of the things that between Veller and you guys are providing some opportunities to help him maybe promote and onboard some people in Africa through the Stacks Africa project. And at the same time, provide them with some income opportunities that are much needed in that area geographically. So tell me what you can about that, if you can.
Yeah. And so back in Bitcoin Nashville and Electra, I am so sad that you were there and I didn't get to talk to you in person. For those that don't know, Electra, she's one of the leading voices in Web3 for accounting. There was I forget his name. We interviewed him months ago, and he does insurance, but his entire company is Bitcoin driven, and even the balance sheet and the ledgers are Bitcoin. And I remember talking to Electra about this, and I was like, man, that's crazy to see this whole company. They accept Bitcoin. They pay employees with Bitcoin, and that, as we skip into the future, it's going to be less crazy. It's going to be the common language. I mean, my kids, I don't know if they'll ever have a bank account in 20 years, right? So those are things like I think about, like the future of where does this all go? One of the things I wanted to ask you, Electra, what are you seeing? And sorry, peace, love. I totally went past your question, but I was curious on Electra is doing accounting standards, and you're kind of in this legacy world, but you're also in this new digital world. It's kind of crazy with Australia too, because Gordon. Sometimes I'll talk to Gordon and I'm like, hey, we're going to launch DAOs. He's like, oh man, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? We're going to do it. We're going to launch it. And it's probably because me and Hodl, we're just, I'll call it dumb Americans. We're not afraid of Gary Gensler at the SEC. The boys come down and offer us letters. We don't care. We'll still launch it unless you lock us up. Then we'll shut some stuff down. But otherwise, we're just going to keep charging ahead. What are you seeing as far as like this legacy world, this new world of Web3, and like where are people like playing as far as like the boundaries?
Well, the thanks, Zero. Where I'm operating from is a bit different to a lot of accountants in the space who might have come from, who have quit. Like the Accountant Quits, for example, I started following in 2021, and Crypto Accountant. But those sort of they're a kind of younger generation who've left Big Four because they don't like the culture, in the Great Resignation around COVID. And so there was a push for accountants into Web3 who wanted to operate in a more collaborative, get away from the big firm. But where I'm at is kind of the traditional practice, the public accountant, who is a real fixed, trusted member of your community, kind of like a node of trust in your community, who the first person you go to when something big's happening in your life, where the first person you talk about, like, oh my God, my life's falling apart, I can't even talk about this with my wife. We have always been like, we get trained in mental health because we're dealing with businesses. At the moment, the economic climate's very hard. I've had quite a few clients very much struggling and facing liquidation. A lot are. It's really tough times. Anyway, I detract, but I really empathize with the public accounting. Okay, small businesses, right, are often, and startups, they spearheaded the internet economy, right? Well, it was big business, but the real adoption happens at the ground level, at the grassroots level. And accountants, you know, they brought businesses and entrepreneurial individuals into the space. Internet, you know, internet banking, setting up web businesses. My first boss in 2000 said, "Oh, we're not going to deal with those website businesses because the internet's just a fraud for tax evasion, whatever." That generation of accountant, that accountant is now my age, and they're still the same.
About Bitcoin, it's just for criminals, right?
Yeah, like not wag me for the public accounting profession, but we are social advocates, we are business advocates, and we're public educators. And the 50% of us, I think, who will lead people to the next stage of the internet, of user-centric ownership and permissionlessness, will be accountants who will guide people to have, you know, successfully find sources of income for themselves, to adapt to it. And so it's kind of the mission of Digital Playhouse that I run with Gordon, that we have our projects under, but also as an accountant, I just think we've got to start with teaching everyone Bitcoin as the entry level to Web3, because previously we've tried to do it with MetaMask wallets and all this stuff. It's scammy. They don't want to touch it. Some of it, they've gotten spooked. So I think you know, Stacks is a really nice onboarding space for public accountants to come into. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on, a program at the moment, Bitcoin for Accountants, but it's to steer them into supporting the public. It's a funny story, like I have a background in international taxation, dealing with startups in the creative industries. That's my background, creative industries, music. And yeah, I learned US taxation 12 years ago and trained to be an enrolled agent and registered with the IRS, and then just backed out. Thought, I don't like this culture, because here, as an enrolled agent or CPA, you are actually an agent of the IRS, not of the people. And we have a very different culture in Australia for our public practitioners, tax practitioners, that we are taxpayer advocates. We are social advocates first. But what's happening in Australia the last 5 years especially, we're dealing with government departments that are becoming increasingly hostile to us and are burdening us with so much regulation. No one's entering the industry, heaps are leaving. And I think we're leading to a situation in Australia where we're the social advocates. We've got the tax office saying, tax will just happen, you'll just deal directly with us. So you see what's happening here? And I think that there's a perception of our industry, the public perception is worsening because of scandals that are happening in the higher tiers, but we're being blamed for, we're having to deal with it. We're having to do more ethics training and a lot of crap. We're having to deal with these new regulations of dobbing each other in, nasty stuff. And I think we've just got to come together in a decentralized way. Like, our professional associations are defending us, but they're very fragmented. You know, they're trying to work together as the joint bodies to deal with the stuff that's coming at us from government. But I think as an industry globally, we need to kind of work together and sort of standardize, I guess, you know, our best practices, our ethical standards, and get social consensus over our reputations, rather than relying on professional associations and governments to define and decide our reputations and how the public will perceive us. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but that's where I'm trying to steer my industry, which is not the big four type accountant or the finance internal commercial accountant, you know, but just the public accountant in your community, or that you will go to as a startup or a business
so
to get support.
From an international accounting standpoint, and your focus is in Australia, but you have an international background. Does that allow?
Well, no, Australian international. Australians go overseas, so my clients that's why I work in a remote place. My clients are everywhere. You know, they'll contact me.
You have clients. You have clients in the US or wherever potentially.
Yeah,
you just don't want to work as like you not. You said you're not working in the US, or you're not. You left it because you had been.
I wasn't actually working in the US. I wanted to be an Australian-based enrolled agent, because there are many US citizens in Australia. So
Okay.
that was what I was doing back then. In the end, I worked for as an accountant for the entertainment industry. I was dealing with a lot of US Australian dual circumstances.
Okay, I understand. So you can advise people anywhere in the globe potentially on crypto related accounting.
Yeah. The education that's going on that accountants are spearheading themselves, like the Accountant Quiz and the Digital Asset Accounting Coalition that I met up with in Nashville is a really great project. And Sam Lachman is also leading the Statement of Digital Assets. Accountants are actually collaborating to come up with accounting standards, guidance, and best practice for Web3 and crypto and DeFi, where the government and accounting bodies, standard setters, haven't caught up yet. You know, they're giving us very limited guidance where it's really high risk. That's why there's not many accounts in this space, because there's very little guidance. So, you know, It's very easy to kind of get blamed.
In the community, in the space, there's a lot of smart people, a lot of developers, and there's a lot of people building, and there's a lot of artists, and there's a lot of community people, but there's not a lot of regulatory and auditing guidance for these people.
Yeah, people do need that navigation to deal with government, so they're not afraid of it. That's why I became an accountant. I was a muso in the 90s and a creative, and I decided to study accounting because my industry was terrified of the government doing tax returns, and they were bringing in business numbers, and so I just went, don't worry everybody, I'll go study this. And I ended up doing accounting, then 2 degrees in tax law and international, and I've just realized I've come back around full circle. Now it's Web3 and blockchain, Bitcoin.
Right. Well, so and
like, how do we do it?
So to the point of like just further more and more burdensome regulatory stuff being put on professional industries, it's not just accounting, it's everything. Everything. And
that's
it's not just, it's everywhere. It's everywhere because they really want to make it seems like they're making it harder for people to get independent professional representation for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's the top filtering to the top.
So the work we're doing on the blockchain is really a reactive counter to that experience. I think, you know, it's the collective consciousness coming together and building the way we're going to free ourselves from.
And that's right. And I agree with Zero that you know, the future is open and permissionless. It's freelance. And I think we can form our decentralized monopolies within our industries to counter that. And I do think that accountants and lawyers do different stuff. I mean, accountants don't just do government. We're too burdened with compliance, but we are actually just really good at setting up accounting systems and giving you visibility into what's going on in your business, so you spend things at the right time and
accounting isn't just for taxes, it's for making sure
we're doing less of
that. Lining up and you're paying the right people and you're doing the right things with their money at the right times and stuff. You know,
that becomes incidental when you run your accounts properly, when you know what you're doing. I sold my tax practice a couple of years ago, and like I focus on a monthly reconciliation model with I do accounting systems, set them up with crypto accounting systems connected to your subledger so that you can run monthly reports. And you do your monthly sort of tax journal, and then you get to the end of the year and it's pretty much done. So you're tax planning. You're not doing things historically. So I've got a completely different model that I think accountants need to come into, and I think that will get them more respect from the public once they show, hey, we can actually be not your CFO or your finance team, but that kind of fractional service. We can support that function in your business at any stage, you know, to make sure that you've got that
a decentralized
control over your business. Yeah. And that's what I love. That's what the potential I see with Authority Dao, that we can be in there, and when you need us, just use us.
Yeah, and it actually becomes it's way more efficient that way too.
I think so. Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. Thanks. But Authority Dao, I've been trying to think of how can we do that, and then he built it, and it's like, well, I'm not going to build that. I'll go and focus on education. I'll come and put my thing there later.
Yeah.
And I'm turning Total up a little bit. I think he was a little quiet. What's up, man?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's it's awesome what Electra is up to, and you know, you're out there working in the world, getting people acquainted to what the future is going to be, and you know, that we really like you're kind of a talking point that me and Zero will talk about, because we're like, you know, Electra's doing all this stuff, like we're gonna want to be able to build things for, you know, what you're doing with your group of accountants, and there's going to be lots of other people like that in different industries and kind of organizations, and we kind of use you as a conversational point to figure out, like, all right, we got to make sure we solve, you know, people just like you, their problems, and how do we make that easier, and then also like kind of showcase when it comes to maybe like education or, you know, artifacts of their past, where people their skills and everything else is able to come through, and all of that. I think that is a huge part of what we talk about on the regular, and yeah, it just gets me going. It really does.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, one of the things we had after that initial conversation, it really got us thinking, because the way we had designed the platform, I mean, I don't even call it V1, but let's just say V1, because I was showing this to someone the other day, and I was like, you see V1, it literally just had a button to like join our Discord, and you know, there wasn't much else to it, right? We used a survey form and like join our Discord, and you know, we had people coming in to Discord, and we weren't going to ask for we weren't even going to set up a Discord, but people were like, where can I find out more information? I really want to see what you guys are building. And so, you know, now we launched 1.5, so that was V1. Recently, we launched 1.5, and now the full Web3 version, where we have, you know, if so, this is V2 that you're seeing, and this is where it starts to get really, really advanced. And Electra, when you had come to us and you said, you know, I would love to have reputation badges, I thought that's exactly what we want to do. I love this. It just looks so clean, so nice. But what like the V2 of what we're trying to do, what we call it is the on-chain economy powered by the reputation. Hodl he just came up with that. We were talking about it one night, and he's like, what about the on-chain economy powered by reputation? I was like, dude, that is fire. I love that. No one is talking about, like I said, no one's talking about we all feel like we're really early, because, you know, there's like one company I know of. I know there's a couple other that hold Bitcoin as far as like their accounting standards. Then you have the MicroStrategies of the world who just hodl Bitcoin, and they're going to keep hodling it forever. We know about all those stories, but, you know, even companies today and nation states, it's so early that, you know, they're barely buying Bitcoin, and then they're going to find out about stacks and the Bitcoin L2s and all the Web3 chains, right? So if that's early, imagine reputation on chain. Like when we explain it to people, they're like, I kind of get it. Why don't I just message you on Twitter and work with you? It's like, because if you do that, then you won't have the reputation on chain where you get the NFT that represents the real world value that I provided as a pseudonym, as a completely anonymous person. You don't get that anywhere else. And then they'll say, oh, okay, I get it now. And then, you know, now we're going to launch bounties here too. Steven, can you flash bounties really quick if you can? That's one of our big announcements coming this week. We have some fun surprises coming up. We're going to do a giveaway too. We've been lining up all the giveaways. We're going to give away $200 worth of Arcadico. The Arcadico guys are fully on board with this. The Leo crew, I love Rubes and what he does with Leo Coin. We obviously love Jack and the Kangaroo crew, and the Invaders. Him and Ian have created something really special. Our guys at Bitflow, they're awesome, and they were early, and they said, yeah, let's partner together, let's make this thing fun. So if you go to bounties, and look if you go to the app really quick and you start scrolling down, it is completely mind-boggling how many people are coming and saying, I want a profile, I want to build my reputation, I believe in what you guys are trying to do, I believe in trustless, I believe in permissionless, I believe in decentralized protocols. And that's all we're trying to do. We want to give you a tool and a resource to build that on-chain reputation. And so it's just so cool to see people come in, and we don't take that for granted. We know how hard it is. So this is bounties. This is going to be really cool, really fun when we make the announcement here coming up this week. We're going to be on Bitflow's Twitter space on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to do the full announcement. It's going to be fun. So these are wide open to compete and have some fun. Bitflow, that was so cool for them to partner with us. And then the other one, the logo competition, that was Rafa. He posted that. And then we're going to have some other posts coming up here pretty soon. And like I said, Rube's
got $100. Rafa's got $100 stacks bounty on this.
Yes. Yes.
Stacks. Not $100, 100 stacks. That's crazy.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Man. I love that.
How crazy is that? That is so crazy. That is, but see, like this, people said, well, just focus on gigs. And I was like, you don't get it. It's reputation on chain. So once you have the gigs, you have the bounties, and then when we have our teams feature, when we have events. So imagine what Electra wants to do with the events. You could set up your event, and then we're going to partner with the Authority guys. And if you want to do your reputation badges on stacks, you can do that. Or if you want to have an ordinal badge, you can do that too. And they're going to set all the API stuff up. We're going to use all the infrastructure. Click a couple buttons. Whoever attends your virtual or in-person events, all they have to do is scan the QR code, or you add their names and their wallets and an email, and they'll get a reminder and add the link to your event wherever that is. If it's in person, just pull up the QR code and let people mint their badges for attending, or if it's online, flash the screen. And it's just this world, this ecosystem is coming together. Me and Hodl, we were kind of laughing last night because we were saying, by the time people start competing with us, I mean, you have to do a lot. I mean, even like just the way we created the Clarity contract, and Pete Love, you said you asked lowbrow questions, brother. We are the type of guys who will meet you on the back end of the other side of the railroad tracks to get a drink with you, man. So,
oh man, I know that. That's why I'm still here. It's because. So I ask questions because I want to understand what's going on. I'm really curious.
I get it. No, the only thing we're missing and we're waiting for Nakamoto is we have the badges contract done. So when you complete a gig, we'll auto kick off the Clarity contract. You'll get your non-transferable badge. When you do a bounty and you participate, make sure you add your email address too, so you get the notification so you don't miss it. But when you complete
in the memo, when you do a bounty in the bounty memo, include your email account.
When you connect wallet and you edit profile, make sure you have an active email address.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I've been getting my notifications because I have.
Yeah. And when Electra told us about these reputation badges she wanted to do for professionals, I thought this is exactly what we wanted to do. And I had talked to Hattie, I don't know, it's probably a month or two now. And he was helping us with just monetization, go to market, and he was giving us these ideas for different paths, because the way we've designed it is like the grassroots movement, right? I'm an individual, I'm an early contributor, I'm an early adopter, I want to use really cool protocols. But then over time, when we mature, there's going to be the professional side of it, where I'm a professional. I want the tools. I want the auditability. I want to use my wallet, but I want to make sure I'm doing it in a compliant way where I'm not going to get in trouble or have to worry about it. So like that's where we're starting to go to, where the arc is going now. Now we're going to, and my background, I was a security engineer for years, and I do security governance at at a SaaS company now, and me and Hodl, we're engineers by trade, so you could tell from the system or our site, like it's not, the user experience has to improve. It's not the greatest today, but we're going to get there. And this next version, we're working with Rocky at Redblocks, and they took it to the next level. And it's gonna really look Web 2. It's gonna look so good with the Web 2 feel. The other thing, when we started building this, man, we had to beg people to help us or to do tweets. They're like, I don't get what you guys are trying to do. I know you guys interview people, and that's awesome, but the system that you're designing, I just don't get it. And it, because we didn't create, there were so many templates for NFT contracts, DeFi contracts. There was literally no kind of contract that we could look at, even on Solidity, Clarity, that it had like a gig where it's a request a gig on chain, accept the gig on chain, and mark the gig complete. Like, we had to design it from the ground up. And the Degen Labs, they came by, and we were working with them the whole time. And I was like, dude, we're having trouble getting this contract off the ground. Can you come in and help us? And they're from Romania. I fucking love those guys. If you ever get to talk to them,
I don't think I've come across them. I might have come across them, but not enough to have
you have used all of the infrastructure, because they pretty much built all of the infrastructure for Stacks, a lot of it.
Oh, really?
And they are masters on the back end. No one can touch their skills with Clarity and back end. Yeah. So they'll help us out time to time, because the contracts that we create, and that's what I was telling Hattie recently, like we're getting to the point now where we are really good with Clarity contracts that are not like NFT, not DeFi. All of these weird ones where you have these weird like requests, accept, market complete, reputation. Like, now we're getting to the point where we're going a lot faster. It took us a long time to get up and running, to create the contract, to do the first one, to do the site, because you introduce blockchain and it starts getting complex. And so
man, you're building a new protocol. It's a lot of work.
It's new. So here's a cool idea. Now that we're at this point, and now that V2 is coming, I was literally talking to James the other night, and he was like, we should do referral links. And I was like, I'm gonna sleep on this. And yesterday we were talking last night, and I was like, hey, remember that idea for referral links? So, Peace Love, if you refer Electra, and just the Web 2 sense, right? The way it works now, maybe there's a referral code, maybe you get some points. That's cool. You do it because you're a good dude and you want someone's project to do well, right?
Yep.
Now, what if we had the ability, because we can design this in the smart contract. If you refer Electra, then you get paid on the gig. Now, and then I said, James, what if every time she did a new gig, you get a new piece of the protocol fees as like your royalty for referring this person that's a good person. That is the power of Web3.
A referral royalty.
A referral royalty.
It kind of exists anyway. Like, I mean, I generally, as a professional, decline offers of referral fees from like financial advisors and others in my community, because I don't want that to see that that I'm influenced or compromised, right?
It exists in the real world. It does. It's not groundbreaking.
You just want to automate it, right? And you still have reputational risk in that referral.
Right.
And I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't say anything.
Here's where we introduce this idea of staking your reputation.
Ooh.
And that also coincides with this referral royalty and staking. So I don't know, but it might be interesting, whatever James comes up with on that side.
That's a really great idea.
Is there a punishment if you refer someone that ends up being not such a good person?
I think there has to be.
Right? There has to be some consequence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the the blockchain lives on forever. So if
Yeah,
we
it could
have it
be.
all recorded and, depending on what you do and what you don't do, yeah, it could be that way. I tell Zero a lot. I think about like Uber score rating where it's like, 0 to 5. And you hear people complain, oh, I'm some newbie and I had some, jerk that gave me a 0 rating and now I can't be an Uber driver anymore. Because, and so I tell Zero, it's like, there's a lot of problems to solve, especially like what's called the cold start problem, which is like new people. So if someone's new and then, whether they have good or bad experiences, you can't have that be like
There needs to be an
their
arbitration
future.
mechanism.
Yeah. So there's a lot of trade-offs and there's a lot of things to think about. But the beauty is like the evidence of it all lives on forever in the blockchain. And then how we package it up and then how we kind of keep iterating on it. We just keep coming back to that data and then we can find new and interesting ways to, tweak it to make the experience even better. So, I was telling Zero, like we have this idea of a reputation score of like, how someone, if I go on to someone's profile, they might have a score of like, complete newbie 0, or it's a little bit more. And I think something interesting with it I've been kicking around is if, say peace, love, I'm interested in working with you, but I don't know you a whole lot. And I go to your profile, but then I see that you've done things with Jack and I've done things with Jack, or you've done things with Zero. And of course I've done a whole bunch of stuff with Zero. All of a sudden,
Word of mouth. That's the real world. Yeah.
So
that
it's
score
a
all of a sudden becomes a
reputational
lot.
network. It's a reputational network.
Which is how it works in industries, and that's where most of our clients come from. It's through word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just getting that on
You
chain.
also have an on-chain, right? You have an on-chain CV too. Like you have your proof of work. It's not just your network of referrals and people you've worked with, but there's also like the proof of the work being done. So with
professional services, though, we you may not like what we do, but we have to do it. So who
doesn't like it? I love professional services.
And so my kind of use of a platform like Zero Authority DAO, I think for my industry, would be seeing the proof of what an accountant has worked on in the past. For example, if you have a viticulture operation and you see an accountant who has worked on like a coffee plantation that has accepted Bitcoin as payment, basic example, and you go, right, okay, there is proof of work there that person has experience in something that I want to do, and that job seemed to have stars on it or something. But it's that specific experience. Now, the problem I'm trying to solve is that a lot of accountants out there have wonderful websites that say, we are the best, we're the best crypto accountants or whatever. There's great crypto accountants, but there are some people who are just marketing. And you just don't know who to use. You have to trust what they say on LinkedIn. You have to trust what they say on their website. What I public want to see, and that's what I'm trying to solve with Credo, and I think I can extend that with Zero Auth DAO, is that you can actually see the proof of what we've studied and what we've worked on. And that will elevate the people who are actually putting in an effort, not just trying to be compliant with their continuous professional education to keep the letters on the end of their name. That is the problem with our industry, is that we are supporting mediocrity. I'm a bit rough on that. But I think that the people who are really trying to do cutting edge work need to be seen for doing it, not just the people who are advertising that they do it.
Right.
True.
There was a question, what is to prevent bots from turning it into Amazon or Uber ratings?
Yeah. Zero, you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, good one.
So there's one interesting thing with our protocol is if you were to try and use a bot attack to create these artifacts of, I did this kind of work with this wallet, well, we have a fee on our network. So you're having to pay us money to try and bot our network. And so, and again, it's all on chain. And over time, if someone were to be prevalently doing this to an account, we might have in the future some sort of way to increase the fee the more you try and do it. So
Right.
that's something I've been kicking around. But right now there is a fee. And so if you're trying to spam the network, you're essentially just paying us money. And then at the end of the day, it's the contracts are trustless, but the platform is trust minimized. So like if we were to see that on chain, there's no telling that we could just say, what's going on here. So
well, here's the so is there a certain maybe weight or value to specific reputations and who maybe might endorse one person over another based on, like, is there going to be a score value for the reputation? Where
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you flash that V2, we're also working on the stacks improvement proposal for reputation on chain. Now, we separate it a little bit, right? Because today the way we think about it is all of your on-chain activity gives you a reputation score. And so right now what we're kicking around is what are the categories and what is the weighting of those categories. So we have a couple of standard categories, like how active have you been on chain? If you do lending and borrowing, have you got liquidated? If you have participated in the gig marketplace. We don't give like a Uber rating, like a 0 to 5. What the rating is, have you been paid out 100%? And so it's almost as like this real world value of percentage. It goes into your scoring. And then obviously, have you participated in bounties and then obviously the on-chain activity. You also want this concept, because when I first got into stacks, this guy, his name is Patrick Stanley. Dude is a giga brain. He came up with this idea of a hodl score. The hodl score is, are you hodling Bitcoin or a token? You want to work with people who are hodlers, but you also want to work with people who are active on chain, right? So like that goes into the scoring mechanism. We still have to work out all the math and all the categories and how the weighting works. But the idea is to get some version of this trustless reputation score can give me an idea of who this person is online. And then we also have like some other like ideas around like fraud proof systems, like how do we verify and show that these entities aren't just spinning up new wallets and they're just not new bots, right? Are they trying to spam the protocol? Do they just keep paying the protocol fees? Can we go up on those fees to when we see like this kind of activity to make sure it might be a real person? So there are some things we could do, but that's the goal. One thing too, you said dispute resolution. In the contract, we designed it in a way where if you and Peace Love were working together and Peace Love didn't do anything and you mark it 0, that would actually go to the DAO review. And over time, when we have a token, when people can stake their token, they're going to get two things when they stake their token. We're going to automatically assign 21% of the protocol fees, the revenue, the fees, to stakers. So that's one thing you get for being a staker. The other thing is, if you click the button and you say, I also, you have to do a transaction on chain to say, I would like to be a part of the arbitration or the reviewers. Anytime it goes into dispute, we're going to randomly select either 5 or 7, an odd number, and those people, they'll just see they'll see the back and forth. Because when you complete a gig, you have to go in and say, was this gig completed? How well was it completed? If they didn't do anything, you mark it 0. Why did you mark it 0? When you're part of the arbitration who gets randomly selected as stakers, you'll go in and just see what was the objective. So what was the scope of work? What was delivered? What was the creator say delivered? What did the client say was a conclusion? Why it's 0? And then you just weigh in and say, I vote for this person or that person. And then here's the magic, because with the smart contracts, the total fee, so if it was $1,000 for the gig, we're going to take 5%, and each one of those stakers who are reviewers get a percentage. So now not only are we incentivizing you not to go into dispute, we're incentivizing, if you go into dispute, the people who will review have incentive to review. or if we find out that they have some malicious intent, then we could also slash their staking rewards, right? Because you have to stake. So the arbitration system, we spent months and months trying to figure this thing out, and we said, and I said, James, we need to figure this out even before we get the contract design. And he got all the mechanisms right. We finally got it right, and that's in the contract right now. The only thing we're missing is that last piece where we have a token where people stake it. And if you're staking it right today, there's all these points and rewards for points. I said, I'm not even going to fucking waste time with points. If you stake, you'll get protocol fee. And if you stake and you want to be an arbitrator, you get 5%, and 1% goes directly into your wallet.
It's brilliant, man, because a big part of it is incentivizing behavior.
Absolutely.
And that's why, and what you're building is not just going to be applicable to a gig marketplace. It's a general disputes mechanism, dispute resolution mechanism. It's brilliant.
And ultimately we won't be needing, the actual government departments, bodies to resolve things for us, which can be very slow. Perhaps we can do it more efficiently amongst ourselves with these types.
We surely can.
That's what I look forward to.
And as we develop these mechanisms to do so, eventually the old way will just become obsolete and unnecessary and dissolve. And this is a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight, but we don't need to topple governments. The Buddhists say,
no, but they do have trouble. They are overwhelmed. It currently takes like 6 to 12 months for the tax office to make a decision on a question of law if we request a private ruling, or it takes a long time for things to be resolved with Fair Work Australia or fair trading, whatever your departments are. These things take a long time, and in the meantime people suffer a lot of stress and cost trying to resolve things through administrative tribunals and courts. Perhaps these issues can be kind of prevented and resolved in what you're building here, this model.
I get really excited when I think
not toppling government, but they're not handling the workload. Is what I'm saying.
I'm not in the camp where overthrow the governments and overthrow the.
Neither am I.
No,
I'm more. And so my background, I came from Big Four as well, and I worked in that world for many years. I'm more in the camp, kind of like what Chainlink does. Chainlink is the smart contract Oracle layer for Web3. I think of us now as the reputation layer for Web3. And that reputation layer, it constitutes gigs, bounties, teams. We have some really cool partnerships for security stuff. We're going to be coming out with Coin Fabric later too. They've been awesome to work with. We want to work with Jesus too at Strata. I know Hattie was working with him previously, but where we're going with this, where we think the world is going is this, and we're going to keep getting questions and pushing the boundary. That's why I really love what Electra will say. Well, can you do this and can you do that? And I'm like, wow, that's a really cool use case that I thought we would be years away from. But it's so cool that you're even asking the question now. One of the things I've been thinking about, and Hattie's kind of been helping us think through, like, what does the future look like if we build this out and you have this protocol that's almost starting to be self-sovereign? I would love to build this self-sovereign protocol where eventually we get to the point where AI can update the code by taking all the review comments and all the messages on chain, because we're going to build we're also going to build a messaging into the platform where if you want to work with this person or that team and you start to message and say, hey, like Zest protocol, I know you guys have your team. I would love to build this on top of your protocol. And then in the chat, you could click the plus button and start a gig, start a bounty, you could even like start an event if you wanted to. But that ability to like add your SOW on chain, add your add like a gig right in the chat, and it starts like that's where we're going to remove the friction. You know, we thought a lot of people were just going to kind of chat on Twitter, on Discord, Telegram. It hasn't been the case. If you find someone you want to work with, you want to message them and kind of get the ball rolling, right? And so we're going to build that in. We're going to make it super easy. But like the thing I've been thinking about, like 5-10 years out, what if we had AI seeing all these updates that people want to do, and it just updates the code, pushes it to mainnet, and then you know, now we're almost like getting towards like a future point, because then on top of that, and this is the original idea where Electra, you said, what if I built a network on top of the network? And I always think about this meta protocol of a network on top of the network, and I think that is more interesting if we get to that.
Is that when you suggested I turn my accounting practice into a DAO? And I was thinking, oh, is that the network on the, because the way I see accountants in the future is no firms, just all collaboration. So I was sort of wondering, well, what's my accounting practice?
It's all
me and who I work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
The layer 3.
So when you had proposed that idea, I thought, yeah, that is an interesting concept, because, and this is what we were going to do with Stacks Africa and Freddie, is all of the people who are already there, we're just going to create a new label. So when you go to zeroauthority.xyz, you have the labels at the top for different types of services. We're going to offer Stacks Africa, and then create and then Hodl is going to work on a mini landing page, right? So then all of them, they could see they're all in this network together. And I almost think of it as what you were talking about, Electra. We just need to get a little further along where it's more professional and a little bit more mature. But you could also have your own network of Web3 accountants who also, you guys can see each other. You could work within your own network too. And then you almost get to the point where, and I haven't even talked about this or even thought about it, but I've been thinking about, once we get these protocol fees, I would love to also set aside some money to do like a build fund where it's almost like grants on the platform, because we work with D Grants. D Grants has been a phenomenal partner, and they were early to partner with us. We want to reward people who are in the D Grants program, or people who go through D Grants. Peace Love, you went through D Grants and you put 0 on your application. And
I did, and I wasn't even gonna. I was only trying to help promote D Grants, right? That's where I started.
Right.
Trying to get as many people to apply as possible, and I was like, well, I might as well at least go through the application process and see what that would look like. And now here we are in a podcast on the 4th episode, and got all this stuff going on, and
right.
And really, and it was literally, I did ask for 0. They actually kind of forcing me to take like a little bit of money. I think, just to kind of keep me incentivized.
Well, it's like you got to eat your own dog food, right? You got to eat your own dog food. Like, hey, you guys should go through the process. Well, did you apply? Well, no. But it's like, well, why not? Well, and just, it's incredible that I've been really thinking about this onboarding to Stacks and to Bitcoin L2s. I mean, that is phenomenal to see your journey, right? Like, I see us as that entry point where people come in, they learn about Stacks, and D Grants can help you build an idea, get it off the ground. And then after that, there's so many more things people can do. And that's why D Grants is near and dear to our hearts. That's how we got started too. They gave us a small grant and we built something. And that was a part of the reason why we wanted reputation on chain. Like, think of all the people building things today. Think about all the people you work with across the globe. There's no one place when you work with each other, whether it's on Telegram, it's on Discord, it's on Twitter. There's no place to represent that work that you've done. And that's why we exist. And that's what we want to bring to people. We just want people to flourish and get the opportunities.
There's so many applications for what you guys are building, and it comes up a lot in the conversations I end up having when I'm asking questions about. So I connect
so
dots.
Much, man.
I connect dots, and you guys, your guys' dots connect with a lot of other people's dots. You guys you connect with a lot of things. Like I'm sitting here thinking, you're talking about a communication capacity. Yesterday we had Dan from Boom Wallet on and Stacking DAO, and Zest was supposed to come on, but Off My Lawn had something come up and he couldn't make it. But Dan had come on my podcast. I'm on my first Spaces episode actually, and he in something that was Jamie F. I don't know if you guys know Jamie. He was actually in the side chat, the live chat a little while ago, and I'm working on some stuff with him that's going to be a part of Stacks Link and some of the content we're providing article wise for onboarding. And I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on with Stacks Link. Good Kitty's kind of building off. That's also coming out of D grants where
Stacks Links is awesome. And Freddie, I saw you just joined you Legends. Loving the conversation. Thank you so much, brother. We're excited about Stacks Africa.
Freddie's going to be on the podcast next week too. I mean, on the Spaces on Wednesday. And I did, he hosted his first Space about a week ago, I think. Man, it's all running into each other, right? There's so much going on. And that's actually the thing. We had like 100 people apply for the D grants this past cohort.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, and the excitement and the energy and the atmosphere and just the amount of people putting in and producing right now as like beyond what I was experiencing or expecting to experience. It's really it's blowing up. I mean, in the middle of kind of a little bit of a bear turn in the market, and we're not this is not financial advice. I have to say that because we're on YouTube. And I mentioned the market, but in the midst of that, there's tons of activity and excitement and people encouraging and working together and collaborating and building and finding solutions to things. It's just it's amazing. I haven't experienced this in crypto with this kind of enthusiasm and as optimistic as I am on the space. And I've been in the space for a while. It's just it's amazing. But the stuff you guys are doing and the dots.
One thing that I think is absolutely incredible is every chain I've ever seen, right? It's always some controversy. There's always a lot of infighting. Now, don't get me wrong. It happens here as well. But the number one thing that really is promising, the DeFi platforms all work together on Stacks, and they all try to concentrate liquidity, not because they love it, but because it's the right thing to do for the user. That is mind blowing. That blows my mind every time I think about it.
You have a lot of logical people that refer to first principles.
By the way, Bitflow had their Twitter space recently, and they were talking about their launch of the aggregator and their contracts, and it's phenomenal stuff. Bitflow's next level.
Yeah. Yes, that was today at around. I missed some of it because I was in the SIP call with Hero. At the same time, it was at noon, and Dave's thing. I caught part of it, but I'd already. He talked about it a little bit before that anyway. Like Dave had another show about it the other day, or he mentioned it, or posted maybe something. It's just, but yeah, they got that aggregator is amazing, and you talk to the Bitflow guy. Like yesterday, I had Stacking DAO Zest and Boom Wallet. Boom Wallet gets featured on the Leather Lounge. Like the wallets aren't real. Like they're competing, but it's a centralized competition. They're not trying to eliminate each other. It's not really adversarial. We just do things. We got the same thing, doing it a little bit of a different way and providing options in the marketplace. Oh my God.
And peace, love. Like we wouldn't not come on your podcast because we have a podcast and you have to come on our podcast. That is not how we think, man. And I'm just so thankful for that.
I will be always welcome. I'm always open to. I would be happy to be on your podcast, bro. Anytime. And that's I'm doing. I don't know if you guys must know Crypto Landy by now. He's been kind of becoming a force in the space. I'm going to be on his space on Monday. I join the Welsh guys when I can, and I jump into everybody's spaces, and sometimes I'll just jump up there as a speaker, not necessarily because I want to talk, but because I know it helps get them more people that might be following me get notified that I'm speaking in a space, and they might jump in there, and people are starting to do that for each other.
Yeah,
there's so many. And we're all doing that. Like you guys were happy to come on my space. You didn't give me any kind of rules or anything, and I appreciate that, because the support I have gotten for what I'm doing from everybody has been amazing. There's awesome, everyone in the space it wants to help out, and I'm providing a service too. I'm providing something of value, but I'm kind of new and I just came along, and sometimes I talk very authoritatively about things like I know what I'm talking about. And it can come off the wrong way.
Yeah, James is always asking me, Zero, do you actually know about that? I'm like, no, I don't, but do I sound like I do?
Hey, I don't say it like that.
Everyone questioning themselves.
You say
as a non-technical person, I have found it a very welcoming and unintimidating space. Look, a hard thing about being an accountant is that we have to be right. Like we can't speak unless we're right about something. So that's a very uncomfortable thing to get used to, speaking something unless I really know what I'm talking about. And that, I guess that's why there's not too many professionals in this space. But that's the thing, you just got to keep speaking as if you do know what you're talking about, because it just leads you to knowing what you're talking about.
Right? Yeah, and do you think more professionals over time will come into Web3?
Yeah, I think they'll loosen up.
We're going to make them have to. It's going to be,
this is the perfect space. You are the people who will help them to loosen up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, peace, love.
Yeah, the values. I see a lot of values and behaviors aligning.
So let me. We've gone a long time, and I really appreciate everybody's time. I don't have anyone I don't have a producer that's kind of like getting past his time, telling me it's time to go. But we're ready to, if you, this has been awesome. I could talk all day. I actually say that to my real estate clients all the time. If you don't shut me up, I'll just keep talking. You guys have any fun? Hattie, you've been kind of quiet. You got anything to add before we go?
I've just been letting the conversation flow because it's been going really, really well. And listening. As we've got experts on the panel today, which is amazing. So I haven't had very much to add. Electra, it's always a pleasure. Electra and I've spoken a lot about it. The only thing I didn't quite get was Electra, are you available for people outside of Australia, or you're only working with people inside Australia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I help with accounting is universal. I have clients with companies in other countries. And when we need tax, then we know someone. That's the thing. We're very connected, us Web3 crypto global accountants. So
very true.
We know who you need to know.
Yes, that's a really good
that'll
point.
Work even better when we have zero Authority Dao.
100%. So that's a really good point. Is that Electra is a wealth of experience and a good source. If you need to know somebody who knows tax somewhere else in the world, because I've reached out to
accounting systems. That's the main thing. Like, don't do shit on spreadsheets. Sorry, you can automate that.
Electra. The one thing I have learned, there's too many fucking spreadsheets.
No, kill the spreadsheet. I've been doing that for 20 years.
And then Electra's, obviously the stuff you've got with automating the crypto for taxes is also really cool.
Accounting, mainly. You do the accounting first, then you can do then the taxes.
No, but I meant the way you pull it in automatically, which we've spoken about offline before. It's really cool. So
there are a lot of really great people building in this space that don't get enough airtime, who DZ building a tax reporting platform for ordinals, runes, BRC20s. I chatted with them the other day, and I'd like to give them a bit of exposure.
Yeah.
They're solving their own problems. We're all here to solve our own problems, aren't they? I'm seeing my good industry suffering, and I want to kind of bring it into the future to be more optimistic and empowered, and and people are just trying to empower themselves and fix their own problems. And look, there are a lot of great startups in the crypto sort of accounting space that I think need some attention. Maybe I'll bring some on your show one day.
Please.
But they're just users,
phenomenal conversation. I didn't know what to expect. I know obviously we always have a great time, and the conversation is always really cool and interesting. So I'm just like super appreciative for, I know Peace Love, we were going back and forth on times and dates, and I was so glad once you said Electra was going to get on, because I've been meaning to have her on the podcast before, and it's always great to catch up with Hattie, and always a pleasure to talk to James. Although James, he gets too many of my phone calls, so I'm sure he's just annoyed to see my face again.
That's not true. Never true.
Thank you for making this time. It's for 7 a.m. in Australia. So
well, thank you guys.
Oh
all for
yeah, that's
James,
right. It's early over there.
James, did you have any final words, man?
Oh yeah, sorry. My computer nuked on me a little bit earlier. I had to reboot and everything, so I might have missed a couple minutes. But one thing I was gonna ask, just you guys before you go, is I plan on launching a couple of my own bounties, and I want to do some kind of promotional content related to the Nakamoto upgrade. And I wanted to kick around, what do you think would be a couple good bounties to get people talking about Nakamoto and what it's going to mean for stacks, and what do you guys think?
Nakamoto bounties. So, well, we know it. So explain to me, there's a couple of key points here. It launches on the 28th, but it's not really going to be, it's live, but it's not going to really be functional probably for at least like 4 to 6 weeks after that, based on, it's got to get there's one part that the signers have to do, and then there's another part that I'm not the technical guy. So there's some components there as to what has to happen there, but I'm not sure how you can incentivize what participation you're looking to have. You could do memes about Nakamoto. That's one you guys have already done, some meme bounties, or something similar to Good Kitty's SIP contest. I don't know if you're familiar with the SIP 27 contest she just did, but it was like people could make a meme or do a thread or write a song. So you could actually do
Is that already done?
It it was for the last week, and it was really kind of like she threw it together in like a day. Hero came, and it was in the middle of we were already a week into the voting when she had the idea, and Hero was like, we should do this. And it's probably going to be something we're going to do with more SIPs down the line, actually, in the SIP process, trying to get people not just to vote, but to be in the SIP process. But that's something we're going to do where it'll be like, giving away like some NFTs and stuff in the contest. A bounty would maybe be more functional. So maybe an awareness bounty where if people promote and then they make a Twitter post about, they have to share the post about the bounty and like and retweet or whatever, and then do something where they have a series of hashtags and stuff that they have to put in there so you can track. Well, you don't even need to track what they did, because they have to go to Zero Authority to put their proof of
their submission. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That I was thinking of a few of those things, but yeah, that's because I was telling Zero last night I want to do a few of those. Just Stacks has done so much for all of us. I want to spread the good word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an awareness of Nakamoto. I would do it something like very loose and open, and like I think the idea that Kitty had, where it was all a bunch of different things you could do to satisfy the bounty, will get more participation, and we got time. So I wouldn't do it, pending. I wouldn't have it go through the 28th. I'd have it probably go through like the middle of September.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was all for me. That was just kicking around in my head. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, if I could, I'd probably come up with several other potential things, and I'll message you, I'll DM you. I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night being like, "Oh my god, this is a bounty!" I just like I'll wake up thinking about a bounty idea for you for Nakamoto.
Oh, that's great. Don't stay up too late, as Zero always tells me.
I'm just trying to make sure you get some sleep, brother.
My wife's a couple of years older than me, and she's in bed by like 7:30 if she can, if not 8:30. And I find myself going to bed earlier and earlier because of it. And like last couple of days, I'm waking up at like 3:30 in the morning because I just can't. I can't sleep anymore.
Oh, what time is it? It must be 8 a.m. Oh shit!
It's different. I don't have babies at home waking me up all night long.
Right. Because believe me, once I hit that pillow, I'm out.
That's her job now.
Oh man. All right. Well, this has been fun. Thanks so much, guys, and I really appreciate everyone coming on. And let us know how we can support you guys. We'll retweet this again. Great job with Deorganized. What a great show. And Electra, thanks so much for coming on and always giving us a lot of ideas. We're super stoked once we get further along to do all this reputation stuff in the network of a network. So
I'm really excited to build with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't go off and try to build it without us.
No way. None of us should be built together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peace,
and
Love,
Hattie,
and Hattie.
thanks so much. We're excited for you to join the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
That's awesome. Awesome. Electra, thank you so much. I'm glad I finally got a chance to chat with you. Zero, always a pleasure, my man. And I thank you guys so much for doing this. James Hodlstx, I don't think we've ever chatted. We've probably met each other in the socials a few times, but never really chatted formally. So great to actually meet you. Hattie, thank you, man, so much. You've been clutch in the side chat and helping out with this and everything. And I'm sure you're going to be a huge addition to the Zero Authority Dao team. And I'm just, again, I've been so blessed to have so many great guests in such a short amount of time on this project. I am deorganized. I cannot tell Nick to take us out because he's not with us today. So I'm going to take us out and maybe I'll get this right. And we'll see what happens. So thank you guys all. I really appreciate your time today. And you guys have a great weekend. And we'll talk
to you. Thanks, Peace Love. Thanks, Electra. Thanks, Hodl.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Zero. Bye.